Here are 50 mini ramp tricks that you need to know. The best part about skating mini ramp is there's a lot of different things you can do. And there's also a bunch of tools that we can use by building skill sets that will translate to harder and harder tricks later on. So if you don't know these 50 tricks as your foundation, you're doing yourself a disservice. Before we get started, let's talk about dropping in. Dropping in is how you get into the ramp every single time. So I recommend that not only you can do it, but that you're comfortable and confident with your drop-ins. To have a confident drop-in, that means you can stand up tall on the deck. It means you can put your front foot on the board, maybe push on the nose a little bit without falling into the ramp, and you're not freaking out when you're at this stage. A lot of the newer skaters, or even intermediate ones who never practice this, end up on the deck and then they start going and put your foot on and you're holding on for dear life. If that's you, if that reminds you of yourself, take your time and get your fundamentals right. When you're standing on the deck, you can hang your heel off of the tail of your board. You can plant your heel on the ground. Put some pressure on your front foot. And then to initiate the drop-in, you can push off of your back foot, off of the ball of your back foot to push you up and over the ramp and over top of your skateboard. So you can drop in tall and with speed. Trick number 1, let's start with tail stalls. Most people think that you have to go all the way to the coping just to practice a tail stall at all. It's not true. You can go halfway up, a quarter of the way up, and put your tail down. Don't convince yourself that if you miss the coping that you're gonna fall on your tail stall. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. It actually creates a habit where you're throwing yourself into the ramp more than necessary. I want you to get comfortable riding up the ramp, just lifting your front leg, staying balanced, planting your tail to the ground. As you get more comfortable, you can gain some speed, be more patient on the way up, and wait till you get to the coping, and then do the same thing. Once you get comfortable with that, go fast enough to stand on the coping, but keep your balance the same as you were when you were lower in the ramp. Number 2, rock to fakies. Make sure on your way out of your rock to fakies, you are not hanging up your front trucks on the coping. That is a terrible habit to get into, and it will take a lot of effort and discipline to fix early on in your skating, but it's worth it. Once you're on the coping, it's helpful to have your board at least halfway up onto the coping. That means you're not too close to your front trucks when you're in the rock to fakie. It's helpful because it gives you more time and space to clear your front trucks on the way in. It's also a good note to reach for the rock to fakie. Send your board up and forward in front of you. As you do it, this will naturally load your back foot. This will help you lift that front truck nice and easily. Number 3, switch rock to fakie. Switch rocks are important because now you have the ability to just go back and forth forever without worrying about a thing. The same notes apply to a regular rock to fakie. Reach that board forward a little bit. Try and get your board halfway up over the coping. Really commit to lifting that leg that's over the deck so you can clear it on the way in. A side note, you should never really be leaning backwards or forwards, like tilting into the ramp. It's unnecessary. Just keep your weight over your trailing trucks, the trucks that are in the ramp. And as you lift that front leg, avoid falling too much over the trucks that were over the deck. Just try and stay nice and balanced, going both ways. There are a couple of different body positions that you can use for your switch rocks. You can go at it more fakie, so you're facing backwards. I find this a little more difficult to predict where I am and to lift my leg up. If I face the direction I'm going, I find it a lot more natural and more familiar. This is more like a regular rock to fakie, but ultimately, this is up to you. Trick number 4, backside slash grind. This is a great extension on your backside kick turns. What I want you to do is take your backside kick turns and learn how to pump and extend up the wall and delay your kick turn little by little. We are not trying to rotate very fast. And an important little keynote that most people don't consider is where you're looking throughout the trick, how you're looking at the slash grind. Avoid this common mistake where you look over your front heel side and you try to find the coping like this. I see that often. I want you to keep your board directly under you, and you always have this direct line of sight when you look down that you can see your board, okay? Not out over the heel side, trying to find the coping and hit it like that. I want you to commit to your regular backside kick turns and keep your eyes on the inside of your front. When you're getting into your grind, just get your heel side wheel to barely get over the coping. And if you need, you can always push a little bit of pressure into your heel to confirm that grind. Keep your rotation going slow, keep it smooth. That should start to feel more comfortable and more natural as you get your reps up. Number 5, front side slash grind. We're gonna go at the same strategy that we used for the backside slash and apply it to our front side. Slowly extend the height of your front side kick turn from low on the ramp and start to slow down the rotation and extend your pump on the way up. A lot of the battle for these slash grinds are actually gonna be rotating slow enough and going high enough. A great way to nerf your rotation is to point your front leg up at the coping. So that means as I start my kick turn, I can start rotating and then take my front leg and hold it and point my foot up at the coping. That'll keep the board in line with the direction we want to go. Slow down your rotation, extend your height. It'll do a lot of great things. Another wonderful tip that you can use is taking your back foot and placing it more towards the heel side of your tail. This will keep your weight naturally on that heel side wheel, giving you a lot of stability when you actually start hitting the grind. Avoid over-rotating your entire body when you're trying to get your slash grind. And like, I get the intensity. It's in the name, like there's intensity in the name. Slash grind, it feels like you gotta like rip it for it to work. The more you rotate, the further away you're gonna end up from the coping, right? If I just spin out of it, I'm gonna stay really low to the ground. If I extend and take my time, I can reach up for the coping. So it's actually can be a very smooth and comfortable trick. And I would even get comfortable with under rotating your body a little bit and seeing how that feels, if you can get comfort with that style. And then obviously when you're ready, you can just get so pitted. Number 6, axle stall. There are plenty of ways to go about axle stalls, but I want to focus on the exit. If you can build your landings, then learning how to get into them becomes easier and easier. You can stand up on the deck with both your trucks completely on the coping. I want you to keep your weight on your front foot and nudge your back truck all the way out over the coping. Can you zoom in on the back truck where it is? How my back heel side wheel is all the way towards the coping. For new skaters, this is a very aggressive position. This feels like scary for a lot of students. Feel like they're way out in the ramp. That's great. As long as you keep your weight on your front foot, you can stay on the deck very easily. Remember, I'm balanced over my board as if I'm skating this way. I'm skating towards my nose at all times. I'm not leaning down into the ramp, trying to skate forward, right? I'm balanced over my board as if I'm skating along the coping. Then you can just start putting a little bit of extra weight into your back foot. And since your wheel is all the way out, now you'll naturally start tipping in the ramp. And that's when you pivot on the way out. Take your time on your exit and let it flow. The worst thing you can do is be in a huge rush to rotate and to lean too far forward. I'm even scared to give a demonstration. If I lean too far this way and I'm in a rush to rotate, now axle stalls become very difficult, okay? So make sure you're practicing on something small and you're taking your time on the entrance back into the ramp. Number 7, Feeble Stall. This builds off of that axle stall strategy perfectly. Arguably, you're gonna be landing in feeble accidentally when you're trying your first axle stalls. It happens to everyone. But since our board is rotated less and we're more over the deck, it is even more important that you remain patient, and when you have your weight on your back foot, that you're comfortable slowly rotating all the way back in the ramp. I am facing this way when I'm on the deck, then I let it rotate once I start falling in. Avoid over rotating on the way into it, because that will only make it more awkward. Really rely on that back truck and that back wheel being lodged up against the coping. We can help strengthen that back wheel pressure against the coping by having our back foot hang off that heel side rail. And it's almost like I'm standing on this heel side rail while it's in a feeble. Feel a lot of pressure up against the center of my foot on this rail. Number 8, backside 50-50 grind. When you start grinding your 50s, it becomes even more important to face the direction that you're skating all the time. So when you're on the coping, you are oriented to skate along the coping. Too often, I see skaters trying to skate down the ramp prematurely. Right, they're like leaning down into it and then they're trying to somehow reach for the 50-50. It will feel a lot more like you're skating on flat ground along the top of the ramp for as long as you want, and then you can come in from there. When you're getting your grinds down, you're most likely gonna overshoot and end up all the way up on the deck. That's fine, it's not a terrible mistake to make, but try and aim for more like a 45-degree angle so your body is out in the ramp the whole time. This would be like straight up on the deck. And then if I was out at a 45-degree angle, my body would be at this angle, my head's out here. Number 9, one of my personal favorites and a very useful thing to practice, Ollie Fakies. What we want to do at this stage is keep them very low and keep them very small and just focus on balance. We can't avoid the inevitable fact that we have to connect our pump to our pop. It's natural to want to squat into the ramp after we start going up it, and that's just objectively the wrong way to go about it at this stage. There are some small use cases for that strategy, but it's not the way it should be learned, in my opinion. To pump, that means we get down low in the flat bottom, right? We feel pressure on the ground well before the transition, and you extend up the wall. We'll pair that extension with a small ollie. Then, once you get comfortable with that, try and pop low on the ramp, but land higher. So you can see it very obviously because we have a shadow to work with. I can pop from before the shadow and land with at least one truck over the shadow. That will set up your ollie to fakies perfect. Number 10, Fakie Ollies. All right, let's talk about how Fakie Ollies might differ from Ollie to Fakies. The timing is gonna be a little bit different. For Fakie Ollies, we have to be patient, go all the way up the ramp. And it might be helpful to try an ollie on the way down. Like ollie from the highest point off of the wall and float down the wall. This is just because we're popping off of our lead truck, essentially. So if we pop too early, it might just shift you too far forward, or the timing just feels really awkward low in the transition. So treat it like a combination between the tail stall and the Ollie Fakie. When you put those two skills together, the pop should work just like you expect. If you have questions for me and you want me to answer them, make sure you're subbed to the channel so you get notifications when we go live. We do it from skate parks so you can talk to me directly. 11 is one of my all-time favorite tricks ever. It's a backside rock and roll. We can do it low in the ramp or decked like you see in all the cool skate videos. Either way, the strategy remains the same. I want you to get comfortable rotating your body and then bringing your board. The only time you'll really have a big issue rotating is if you try and rotate everything together after you get into the rock to fakie. Once you're up in the rock, it's not gonna wanna spin very much. So you have to preload this rotation with your entire body. It's helpful to take your hips, face them in the ramp, let your back foot slide a little bit so you're not completely stuck on the idea that your back foot has to be on the tail, like in one place the whole time. Your back foot can pivot along the tail. So when you turn around, your back foot can pivot. And then when the board rotates around your foot, it can slide like this. It doesn't have to be stuck in one place. Number 12, half cab rock to fakie. The hard part about this trick is staying balanced through your half cab. So a natural tendency is gonna pop up, almost guaranteed, where you are throwing your weight into the ramp when you're trying to rotate. It's very comforting to get closer to the coping, to lean towards it, but that's gonna kill your height. You're not gonna be able to get up the quarter pipe as naturally as you would if you just stay tall and you stay balanced. So be patient, stay balanced, pump up the wall, and then when you get into the actual rock, make sure your counts are rotating a little bit with the rest of your body. So avoid throwing everything into it so you just spin all the way, because once you're in the actual rock, you'll just end up over rotating. So get to this 90 degrees, push your front foot forward, hold your upper body where it is, really treat it like a rock to fakie on the way out. Number 13, half cab rock and roll. So it's very much like a half cab rock to fakie on the entrance. You wanna pump up the wall, stay balanced, take your time. But the exit's a little different. And all we want to do is during our half cab, we just want to keep our shoulders with our skateboard. If we rotate the 180 into this position, while you're sitting in the rock to fakie, it's gonna keep leaking around the corner to a rock and roll. So as long as you don't counter rotate, an object in motion will stay in motion. One of the best feeling tricks that you can do. 14, the big bad nose stall. Nose stalls are easier than you'd think. They're just a little scary at first. One thing we can do is make sure that we're touching our nose very lightly on the coping. It's common for beginners or when you're nervous to lean into it too much and to really be fearful that you're gonna miss your nose. Nothing worse than going up into a nose stall and running into the coping like this. We can avoid that just by paying attention to our speed, really dialing in just how fast we want to go, lifting your back leg up in the air, but staying balanced over your skateboard. So if you do miss, it's not the end of the world, right? Once you get your speed right and you repeat that same thing, it'll feel more natural than you expect. And the drop-in after a nose stall is generally less scary and easier than a switch drop-in might be. It's a funny little fact. For trick number 15, we're gonna combine a couple of skills that we learned. We're gonna combine our rock and roll move, where we're rotating our body when we're in the rock, with the nose stall, and we're gonna turn it into a nose stall revert. It should rotate just as easily as a rock and roll, just about, depending on the type of concrete that you're skating on. When you get into the nose stall, just focus on rotating your body, and then as you drop this tail down, drop it down to the side just a little bit, keep your balance over your back foot, and push your front foot around. Very similarly as you would with a regular rock and roll. Be patient, try it on something small. You're gonna have a great time. Number 16, switch drop-in. This one is scary on the deck, but generally people can do it if you commit. It's normal to want to set up facing like very backwards and freak out and try to slam it down. I just don't think that's a great strategy. I don't think that makes anything easier. I think in general you should just copy yourself as you would go in your regular drop-ins. Plant your heel on the ground, the one that's on the tail. Get your front foot in and just push yourself off your back foot into the ramp and commit to getting those front wheels down to the ground. There is not much to it. It's just like a regular drop-in. It might be helpful just to go watch videos of yourself dropping in. Maybe practice your drop-ins on flat ground and then set up switch and do the same thing. Just gain confidence that you can indeed get your front wheels to the ground. Gain confidence in your basic foundation of switch skating. Maybe push, switch, do some snakes, do some turns, and build off of that, okay? You lack confidence probably because you lack practice. So this might be a good stage of the video to say, you know what, Mitchie, you're right. The 15th trick I should learn on a mini ramp is just how to drop in switch, but that forces me to learn some tic-tacs and some pushing. I don't personally see any problem with that. I think that would be a great use of your time. And then once you have 6 switch drop-ins and people can't really tell which direction you're skating, that's a big feels good. Like you'll gain a lot of confidence on your skateboard being able to turn around and face the other direction. It will open up a huge bag of tricks for you. Number 17, now that I got you roped in with your switch drop-ins and your switch rock to fakies and your nose stalls, you're gonna do a switch kick turn. Being able to rotate backside is a skill that is supposed to take time to learn. You'd think that it's just easy as, but honestly, if your habits are bad, skating switch backside rotation becomes one of the most difficult things to learn. One of the biggest benefits of having a good basic switch stance where you can face the direction you're skating is it opens up your backside rotations because you can wind up and then let it spin and still be facing the direction that you're skating. You don't want to end up in this position where you're stuck skating very switch and then you're trying to switch kick turn and you're just perpetually backwards. You can't wait to get back to skating your strong stance. So skate where you're going, face where you're going, get your feet set up nice, get your drop-ins feeling good, and your kick turns will follow suit. Number 18, and I bet you can guess, switch frontside kick turn. We just want to make sure that we have our basics and that we can survive when we're inevitably doing tricks that come out fakie or come out switch. We don't want to be lost. We're come out of a trick and then we're heading to this wall in our weak stance. You should be able to turn frontside, turn backside, and basically at least survive. A great way to learn frontside kick turns is to go really wide across the bottom and just point the direction that you want to come out. Carve it super wide and point. Once you get comfortable with that, you can just go a little straighter each time until you don't have to think about it anymore. And you can treat it just like you do your regular frontside kick turns or your frontside slash grinds. Number 19, Fakie 360 kick turn. What I want you to focus on is finding this part in the middle where it's like your back wheels can stay still on the ramp. This will take some fine-tuned adjustments to your balance. If you're leaning off of it even a little bit, your wheels will start rolling. They could roll in front of you and throw you over your back trucks. They could roll the other direction and you get stuck off of the board, falling over your front foot in front of you. It's helpful to come at a small frontside carve and to spin really fast. We can spin fast by, a very simple, we'll call it like a shortcut to winding up. You just face forward, come down fakie, and don't move. You just look where you want to go and do a big frontside carve and then rip it around. Make sure when you spin, you're not just focused on your board. You spin from your feet all the way into your chest, right? So your whole body is going together. It's not just trying to throw the board around, and it's definitely not just taking your hands and spinning everything as far as you can, neglecting the actual power that comes from your core and your legs and chest all working together. As you work it up the ramp, you'll just build this feel and you'll build how it floats and how much and how patient you can really be and still get around. Just start low and wide. Number 20, Fakie Pop Rock. The two main pieces of Pop Rocks, when you get up to the coping, you need to jump. Seems like everyone wants to push their board down into the coping, like somehow that's gonna make it pop. That is not how you get in the air. You get in the air by jumping, okay? You're gonna jump and push your board at the coping in like some type of fakie manual. Just a little bit. Okay, and you notice when I do it on flat ground, my feet end up landing on the nose. That is the second very important piece. You wanna jump, pop, land on the nose so you can come in out of your switch rock to fakie. There's this tiny little throw that happens in the air. So your feet can land up on the front side, on the nose side. It will take some time to practice, but it's very important. 21 is Nollie Pop Rock. We'll follow the same thing that we did for Fakie. Push the board forward, jump, and land your back foot on the tail. Once you can string these together both ways, you can practice them for an eternity, which I highly recommend you do. Because as you dial them in, you can adjust your foot placement. You can also adjust where you're landing on the coping on the board. Avoid landing too close to the nose. This will put you in some hairy situations where you're more likely to hang up. So once you can place it closer to the back trucks and balance on the board slide on the rock to Fakie without hitting your front wheels on the deck, you can do this, which I find very fun, where you shake the board back and forth. This is a great little warm up for me to feel the size of the ramp, the size of the coping, the timing, my body placement, my balance. Once you unlock both pop rocks, you're really on your way to doing a lot of great mini ramp tricks. 22, backside pivot. Pivots are hard, plain and simple. There are a couple of things that you have to get right to do them. The first thing is that when you're in it, we obviously don't want you falling forward or backwards. We do that by making sure we take our back foot and putting it directly underneath our head so we can balance on it. This is how you balance on one leg. A lot of people think you have to lean backwards to balance on one leg. It works, you can do it. It's much harder and it makes rotating very complicated. So if you just get into the pivot with your back foot directly underneath you, you can rotate very easily. The second thing that you need to get right is your back truck placement on the coping, which luckily we have been practicing with your axle stalls and with your feebles, so you should feel very comfortable getting your back truck into position. We make sure that we follow the same ideas from the Feeble and the 50-50, where we're oriented along the coping and we're standing on the pivot with our back truck all the way up against the coping and let it rock you in on its own. You see this tiny little grind that I do right as I'm entering the 5-0. That is not from my angle of attack as much it is I'm putting my back foot underneath my head, like we talked about on flat ground. That's a small, little, tiny grind. I find that very comforting, and I find it easiest to balance if I do that. Good luck. Number 23, 5-0 grind. This directly builds off of the pivot. It becomes even more important to have your truck placed properly on the coping and to have your foot slide forward underneath your head so you can stay aggressive and in it with your upper body without ending up over your front truck. Let me explain this very simply. If I have my back foot directly underneath my head, pushed forward relative to my body, I can lean into it and keep all my weight over my back foot very easily. If my back foot is sitting behind me, I cannot do that. So that's how we stay in the 5-0 and stay in the ramp at the same time. This is definitely building off of the pivot. So if you're at all uncomfortable with your pivots, I would be very weary of your 5-0s. Take your time with this one, build it up slowly. So another thing you can do to practice them is do your 50-50s and just put less and less weight on your front trucks as you're doing it until you feel comfortable holding your trucks in the air. Sometimes just trying the trick the easiest way possible will take you the furthest. 24 is the backside ollie. We're gonna take this one very slow because I want to build it up the right way. I'm a huge fan of making a trick first try if it's possible. So we'll go super slow and super wide and just do the ollie that you know and love and kick turn out of it. But this is also very useful to practice because you'll notice if you have any bad habits. You should be able to ollie, stay balanced, then kick turn out of it when you want to. You should not be falling forward by any means. Then we'll just add some speed. Just like the ollie to fakie, we'll make sure we connect our pump and we'll make that kick turn on the way out a little more fluid and intuitive. Once you get to that stage, doors wide open. It's up to you. You can rotate all the way if you want. You can go wider. You can go more narrow. You can really play with this one in a lot of different ways. Numero 25, Fakie Smith. Oh, this one is beautiful. It's one of my favorite tricks ever in the history of tricks. The thing that I want you to focus on is maximum pressure on your back foot when you're actually in the Smith grind. You are not falling over your front foot slowly by any means. You are locked in on your back foot, your front toe is tucked up against the ramp, and then to come out of it, you're gonna be lifting up your front truck and turning in like so, okay? Avoid, I don't even wanna show the example because it's a bad situation when you're in the Smith grind and you start falling over your front truck and it starts tipping into the ramp like that. We want to avoid that at all costs. We can have our back foot up against the heel side rail like so. So when you're in the Smith grind, you can push on that rail into the coping and really lock that heel side wheel into its Smith. Okay, we're gonna build off of all the skills we have. I don't want you to ignore what you've been practicing so far. Think about your tail stalls, right? Standing on that back foot, front leg in the air. Think about your pop rocks. You can float. Okay, and now when we use Smith grind, we're gonna use a combination of those two skills to get in and out. It looks cool, it feels great. It's a great building block that you can build off of. There are many reasons that is one of my favorite tricks ever. Number 26, the absolutely highly requested frontside axle stall. This one's good because it will force you to stand up on the deck and get used to what it's like to face away from the ramp while you're on the coping. While you're in this position, I want you to get comfortable, avoid the tendency to over rotate so you can look super far around the corner. It's just not necessary. Hop on your board, hang your back foot off of the heel side, just like we do for our Fakie Smith grinds, for a lot of these tricks for our slash grinds. We balance over that heel side wheel. We rotate the front foot and our front shoulder at the same time. They tend to float in naturally for me because that's the way my frontside grinds and Smith grinds, that's the way all of them unlock. I think that's from my foot placement over that back heel. When it turns out, it just kind of pops in the air. I'm not actively trying to pop, but I'm definitely picking up my front foot and rotating till it unlocks. I'm not just stomping my front foot down into the ramp. You might end up with a similar feeling. It might be a little bit different, but just avoid stomping your front foot down in the ramp because that kind of leads you into hang up territory. Number 27, frontside rock and roll. You can do it halfway up or you can do it decked out. It's really up to you. I think overall what's important is being patient on the way out. We touched on being comfortable under rotating on your slash grinds. So maybe facing your shoulders towards the ramp on your frontside kick turns might be a good way to practice. just so you can get those frontside rocks to rotate a bit easier and not rely on your upper body being all the way around all the time. The important thing is that we start our rotation earlier than when we get into the rock to fakie. If you already lock in to your rock and then you try and rotate, you're too late. It'll be really hard to get that momentum to carry in a legitimate way. So really open up early and strong, and then let that frontside rock happen, right? Strong rotation, and then it rocks and you pick up your front foot to unrock it and step behind you. It's a fun one. Start on something small, really build your confidence in that rotation, and then as you work your way up, just make sure you focus on being smooth and efficient on your way out. If you're in a huge rush, it's gonna be more and more difficult. Number 28, front side, 50-50. There are the same differences between the backside axle stall and the backside 50-50 grind as there are with the frontside axle stall, the frontside 50-50 grind. The big thing that we want to do right when we start grinding, avoid getting too much over the deck so you start skating away. So you're gonna have to find that balance point where you can sit in the ramp at, 45 degrees, 80 degrees, whatever it is you feel comfortable, so you don't end up too much on the deck. Remember to keep a little bit of hinge at your hips and your upper body forward. Avoid getting your hips out over the deck and leaning backwards this way. This will lead you to a lot of trouble if your board gets stuck up on the ramp. Right, so our actual body position in the 50-50 is like this, but we're gonna be tilted a little bit more than when we were just doing axle stalls. Our weight placement is exactly the same. It's all the tricks we've been doing. Back foot, heel side rail, evenly distributed weight between our feet, maybe a little bit more on the back foot than the front. Go at a moderate speed. Keep your heel side wheel up against the coping. You really should have the fundamentals to come out of it, to get in and out of it. It's just gonna be a fear thing, and make sure you keep some of those basic ideas at the top of your mind when you're learning it. 29, fakie frontside axle stall. The big thing that we want to learn by doing this is avoiding falling over the deck and over rotating into the axle. What we're trying to do is keep that consistent heel side pressure on the back wheel into the coping, and to learn how to counter rotate that 50-50 so we can stay straight right here. Then we just need to be patient on the way in. It's a very useful trick to get down. A great extension off of the Fakie Smith grind. And honestly, they're just a lot of fun. Look, I got a lot of personal favorites on this list, but this one's up there as one of my personal favorites. Ollie rock to fakie. I just think you learn so many valuable skills from doing this one trick that you cannot ignore it in your progression. It would be, frankly, just a bad idea. We're gonna start by going the same speed we would for a regular rock to fakie. Avoid the urge to go faster just because you want to pop. Once we have our speed set, I want you to do a small ollie and land balanced on the coping without either wheel on the ramp. So that means you're not landing with your front wheels up on the deck with your back wheels lodged against the ramp. No, we're gonna land out here with that board floating. A great little extension of this tip is we're actually gonna go slower than we would to do a rock to fakie. This is a major piece in your progression. I want you to put your headphones in, Turn on your noise canceling, kick your dog and your cat out of your room, get your notepad, make sure you get this right. Go slower than you would for your rock to fakie and pump up the wall into it, okay? And when you do that, you're gonna add your ollie. If you can do that right there, you are well ahead of the curve when it comes to transition skating. That one skill will bridge the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be as a transition skater. Trick number 31, frontside pivot. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You can plant your tail on the ground, or you can try to hold it in a manual. I'd recommend you just plant your tail on the ground. As long as you focus on the basics. What are we doing here? We're getting our wheel up against the coping. We're keeping our back foot off the heel side rail of the board. So it has a slight front side turn in the truck. We have all this pressure pinching that wheel up against the coping. We're keeping our body square to the board. Then when we're ready to rotate, we sit back a little bit so we start falling, and we rotate everything in together. Your fundamentals are there by this point. All you gotta do is get into it properly. Push that board forward so your back foot's underneath your head. Rotate in. You'll be doing just fine. Number 32. And I do like frontside grinds. I'm just not very good at them, but I like them. I think they look cool. I think they feel cool. Most importantly, I think they're useful. The biggest mistake people make with frontside grinds is they don't get their hips up over the deck. So instead of thinking about a stand-up grind by trying to get your board high, get your hips up over the deck and you're standing up. Treat it just like a frontside pivot. Focus on skating along the coping, not into the ramp. Along the coping. Then once it starts tipping, that's when you rotate out of it. I'll walk you through one more grind. One more frontside grind. Pick your angle and try not to carve too much. So what I mean by that is instead of going like straight up the wall and carving into it, I want you to pick your angle from the other wall. So I'm gonna go across wide on the way in, but I'm gonna also go in a straight line into the frontside grind. I feel like this helps me stay balanced in the actual grind. It makes me feel like I have to carve less, and it makes it easier to predict my actual placement on the coping. That's a pretty nuanced one. Once you're grinding and you can do them very consistently, I would just keep your line in mind. Number 33, frontside Smith stall. Okay, we can treat this like a big combination. We can treat this like a big combination of everything we've been working on so far. This puts our frontside axle stall, our pivot, our frontside grind, puts them all together, and we just isolate that movement of our front foot. The reason we've been keeping all our weight over our back foot on that heel side wheel is so we can stay off of our front truck and avoid our back truck from slipping in the ramp. So when we want that Smith grind, we can wrap that front foot high and around and then push it down, but that doesn't affect our overall balance. When I'm pushing my front foot down, I'm not leaning over it, right? If you lean over your front foot, you're gonna start tipping that way. Trick's over. Keep your weight on your back foot. Treat it like a big combination between all these fundamental tricks that you've been learning. Like, you know how you're watching this video, you're seeing a trick, and you press pause, and then you go out and learn that trick and make sure you have it dialed, and then you come back and press play, and then do it again for the next one. You know how you've been doing that the whole time through this video? That should have really helped by now. When it's time to make a small adjustment with your front foot, you're ready to do it.
I sense some passive aggression.
No, that's not passive aggressive at all. I know that our viewers are dedicated to actually learning. They're not just here for entertainment. Trick number 34 is Fakie frontside pivot. But I want you to play with this one. We have the Smiths, we have the 50s, and we have the frontside grinds, and we have the frontside pivot. So I want you to play with all of these and start to put them together and turn it into a Fakie frontside pivot. This is one that takes a lot of balance and control. So we can use all these other tricks to make these balance adjustments that we need to try to solve the Fakie pivot. One tip that I will give you, it's very helpful to shift that board underneath your head so you can stand on your back foot. This is one where it's very easy for that board to shift backwards, so your head gets too far over the front trucks, and it makes it hard to hold the pivot. So as you pop and turn frontside, shift that board forward, and then rotate in, just like the rest of the frontside tricks. Number 35, frontside Ollie. We're gonna go back to my very loved and beloved theory that the easiest version of the trick possible is the one you should do first. So you can confirm your make, you can get your reps up, and you can build confidence. When we do a trick, on the way out, you're either gaining confidence or you are learning from a mistake. We want to live in the zone where we're gaining confidence more often than not. So just go wide, focus on your balance, and keep your Ollie very small. As you gain that confidence that we're talking about, you can start straightening them up, pumping harder, popping harder, and getting a little more creative with the shape of your board in the air. The one thing I will say is be comfortable over rotating your board and under rotating your body coming out backwards. That will really help with a lot of tricks down the road. 36 is a front D. We're gonna build off of that frontside Ollie that we were just doing. We're also gonna build off of the Ollie rock to Fakie, where you pump up the wall and pop. For the front D, just throw yourself around the corner pretty hard with your entire body. Wah! Get that little wind up, throw yourself into it as you're connecting your pump and your pop. If you find yourself missing your pop, I have a little hack for you, because this is a very common issue. Going frontside and popping is confusing. You're likely to end up throwing your hips forward, over-rotating, not being able to get a lot of height from your actual Ollie. What I would recommend is, even though you're rotating fast, keep your hinge at your hips and pick your front foot up in front of your body. Try not to wrap it around the corner too much. If I get in a rush and I bring my front foot around the corner, I'm gonna lose pop. So I wanna focus on it almost like it's an Ollie to Fakie. I'm traveling a little bit blindside, and then after I pop, that's when that rotation sets in. That'll make it a lot easier. All right, 37. We're gonna go to back disaster. This one is actually easier with no pop. What I want you to focus on is trying to land with both your wheels floating in the air. Okay, what this will immediately teach you is that you have to counter rotate with your upper body as you land into it. What I usually think about is getting into like a floated 50-50, something like this, going a little bit slower, and just taking my feet and pushing my front foot out over the ramp, my back foot out over the deck. But my body is relative to the coping the same as a 50-50. That's a very simple, straightforward way to think about it. If you're struggling, you're not rotating enough, just wind up more and let it rip. But I bet you're gonna have more trouble stopping your rotation than getting around the corner. Number 38, switch backside rock and roll. I actually would prefer these compared to like a Fakie frontside pivot. I think these are, for me, one of my strengths because I practice that switch backside rotation so much and I preach it so much. What we're gonna have to do is, yes, we could copy and paste our regular rock to fakies and just say, okay, now do it switch. But it's different because our tendencies are different, right? I told you on the regular one to try to face into the ramp. That'll come very naturally switch, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be easier to rotate. So what I want you to do is face your front foot forward where you're going, face your body towards your target, and then turn around on your way up into the rock. That way we can have a little bit of energy that's naturally rotating us. So then it wants to come out. It doesn't work as well just from a static position where we're facing the wrong way and then we try and turn. Skateboarding is done in the setup. There's a lot of tiny details that are very important. Facing the direction you're going on the way in, allowing yourself space to wind up and then get into your rock and roll position, that is the key that you're looking for. It might feel like you're over your heels even more for the switch one, but that's a good feeling. Your natural tendency is gonna be being on your toes too much and leaning forward into the ramp and not rotating. So if it feels like you have to sit back into your back heel as you're rotating, that's very normal. If you feel like the rotation locks up a little bit and then wants to whip around, that's also absolutely normal. Just focus on your balance and not having to rush on the way in or out. And do your rock and rolls and then your switch rock and rolls back and forth. You can compare that footage and really find those details that you're probably messing up in the setup and a little bit on the exit. Number 39, switch frontside rock and roll. This is one of those tricks that we can treat just like it's a back 180. You know I'm a huge preacher of, face the direction you're going. But there are plenty of times where you can just face backwards. Remember for the frontside grinds, I'm like, get used to under rotating your body and just spinning your board. Well, we can do frontside rock and rolls like that because essentially a switch frontside rock is the same as a back 180. So we can use that natural skill set we might have from skating our strong stance and just plug it into a switch rock, okay? What I want you to do is just get your energy moving frontside a little bit on the way up and then finish it by pushing your back foot into the ramp and doing this backwards lunge on the way out. It's a great feeling and it's super useful. Number 40, Feeble to Fakie. Feeble Fakies are the easier lip trick back truck on the coping to Fakie tricks. Didn't really make sense, but you get what I mean. What I want you to focus on is a lot of pressure on your actual heel into the wheel, into the coping. Face forward along the coping. You can start to see how these habits that we've been building throughout this video, that you've really paid a lot of attention to and have been working on, are really starting to benefit us as we get into more complex tricks. Because this sits us in a position that is very intuitive when we want to come out Fakie. So we're set up in a way where I can push on my back foot. When I lift my front truck up and I roll into the ramp, I can push my back foot forward into the ramp. It doesn't feel like I'm rotating backside and then rotating frontside to get to Fakie. I see this all the time, backside and then a big frontside rotation. I'm not a huge fan of that. I want you to be balanced, straight, and have it feel like you're not rotating at all. You just get into the trick and then you push your back foot into the ramp to get out of it. Number 41, Axle Stall Fakie. It's gonna be very similar to the Feeble Fakie, except we're gonna have to put both trucks up against the coping, our heel side wheels up against the coping. Avoid the tendency to push down on your toes too early. Let yourself fall into the ramp, forward, and then push your toes down, rotate front side, and push your back foot forward into the ramp. Work your way up on this one, try it on something small. But once you gain confidence, man, is it fun. Number 42's the hardest of the three, the grinds to fakie. I want you to treat this more like a rock to fakie than you would treat it like a 50-50 fakie. Because a rock to fakie will have your body oriented more this way over the deck so you can come in fakie. If I rotate my body too much on the way in, now I'm gonna keep rotating and it's not possible to get to fakie. Pushing my back foot super far in front of me so I can balance over it and then easily get in fakie. Trick number 43 is one of skateboarding's favorites, the frontside Smith front. To do a front Smith, just set your angle, go fast, make sure you're locking your heel side wheel up to the coping, and ease that front truck down into the ramp. Should really feel like you're able to push your front foot far down into the ramp and out in front of you. That'll really help you lock into position. Just don't let any of your weight follow your front foot forward, so you'll end up falling into the ramp. Also, if you end up too much on your toes, be careful, because then your back wheels will lock into the deck and you might start rolling forward back into the ramp instead of holding that grind. Number 44 is gonna be a backside Smith stall. Oh, one of my favorites. I learned it so young, just like this. Resting my front heel up against the coping, taking my time, adjusting my back foot so I can have the weight on my ball of my foot, so that heel side wheel is up against the coping, and then we slowly come in. You can sit there for as long as you want. Once you get comfortable, drop your front foot back a little bit, and just sit the rail of your board up against the coping as much as you want. Really focus on balancing over your back foot, picking up your front truck so it gets into a little bit more of like a 5-0 position on the way in. You might be able to practice getting in from a 50-50 with your toe side wheel all the way up against the coping. It's a little bit different and will take some practice. Don't rotate too quick out of it, because you might run into the issue where you hang up a little bit. So make sure you're picking it up and rolling it in. Number 45, and you guys are gonna love this one. It is a frontside tail stall. I have a lot of great tips for this one. It's one of those tricks that just feels rock solid to do. There's no way around it. So the big focus is gonna come from how we're rotating and then how we're locking into the tail stall. Be careful not to throw your upper body up and out of the trick this way. Oftentimes when you wanna rotate so bad, it's easy to end up here. Avoid that. Keep your upper body in it so when you rotate around, you can stay down. Then the very important piece, taking your back foot, once you pop, step onto the coping really strong onto this back foot and stand on it and then drop in. It's not a passive motion at all. You're not just spinning and reaching for the tail stall and if you get it, you get it. No, you are rotating, keeping your upper body in it, boom, stepping strong and then dropping in out of it. It's okay to under-rotate your body into the tail stall because while you're in it, object in motion will stay in motion so your shoulders will keep going. It's easy to drop in facing forward. It'd be usually a bigger problem to over-rotate instead of under-rotate. Number 46, backside tail stall. You can kind of sneak through a little backside pivot into it. Right, you can get this wheel up barely onto the coping and just spin hard and stand on your back foot. Seems like a pretty easy way to confirm that the tail stall is actually happening. what I want you to focus on when you're in the tail stall, to plant your weight on your back heel and keep your body facing the ramp. The only real issues we'll run into is if you rotate all the way into it and you're leaning over here and you're over rotated. Nice and strong, plant your back foot onto the coping and just stand up tall. And just stand up tall and you should be fine. 47. We're getting into the crowd pleasers. Blunt to rock to fakie. The big thing we want to get right here is the angle we get in the blunt. Make sure you're at an angle that's appropriate. If you're too much over the deck, you won't be able to clear the back trucks. If you're too much in the ramp, you're just gonna be stuck in the ramp. You won't be able to reach the rock to fakie safely. Your board angle should be something like this. Then you're gonna jump off of your back foot to give your board space from the ramp. You just keep your shoulders as if you were skating on flat ground and it will land in the rock to fakie naturally, okay? I'm in it, over the deck, jump off of my back foot and those wheels slide over and then we can get out of it. As you get better, you can just speed up that rock to fakie. This is a great feeling trick and you should practice it a lot. For trick number 48, let's take that blunt back in the ramp, but we don't have to worry about popping. If you just grab the nose, you can just jump and pull, and it feels a lot like an Ollie Fakie. You can practice staying more inside the ramp. Don't get too much over the deck, because going from over the deck, and then leaning back, and then jumping and pulling, it's terrifying. Stay in the ramp, get your speed right, do the blunt pretty quick, and just jump and pull. The 49th trick that you should learn on a mini ramp is a back disaster revert. I'm throwing the kitchen sink at you now because we have all these skills to build on these tricks, okay? I'm just gonna list it for you like this, like it's a program. It's a backside ollie. It's a back disaster. It's a switch frontside rock and roll with the rhythm of a half cab rock and roll. You push it all together and you got yourself a back D revert. And trick number 50 is the friends that we made along the way. No, I'm kidding, it's a blunt to fakie. Blunt to fakies are about rhythm just as much as it's about balance and a strong pop. If you get locked up in your blunt forever, you're gonna lose it, right? So we just wanna create enough space from the ramp with our tail that you can push your nose down away from the ramp a little bit and then pull it up so your board pops on the way in. All you need to do is clear your front trucks. To clear your front trucks, you just pick your board up this way and let it slide into the ramp. You don't actually have to pop that hard, but you can, and it's super cool to do so. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our tutorial on the 50 tricks that you need to learn on a mini ramp. This is both for your growth in skateboarding and also so you can have fun and you can continue to grow as a person through learning all of these tricks and all of the little tiny nuances that you're gonna have to grind along the way. Also, we gave you enough tools to be creative so you can do whatever you want. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you there.